So in our next fireside chat, you're going to have a chance to hear from David Polgar, who is the founder of All Tech is Human, and Lindsay Grace, who is the Knight Chair and Director of the Interactive Media MFA program at the University of Miami. And he's also the curator of the Games for Change Festival this year. So I don't know how Lindsay does everything, but he tends to overachieve and overdeliver. So I'm very grateful to him. But they're going to have a really, really interesting conversation about the rise of generative AI, the crucial ethical and legal issues that come with it, and how we can untangle these sensitive issues towards positive tech futures for all. So please join me in welcoming David and Lindsay.
I call it the wheel.
I don't think so. What does it do?
It rolls.
Yeah, so does a bagel, okay? A bagel you can eat. One of the worst ideas I've ever heard.
Brother David, behold, the fork. I got 10 forks right here, baby. Am I right?
My lord?
What is it?
A toilet, my lord.
A toilet? You expect this court to do its business inside? We're not animals. We go outside like humans.
It's coffee. It's new.
Oh, it's awful.
You don't like it?
I'm all jittery and feel like I got a big job coming on.
Hancock, you sign first.
No king! Gentlemen, have you taken leave of your senses?
The people shall have the right to vote.
Even the stupid ones?
Yes.
Stupid people vote?
Yes.
Edison, can I be honest with you? It stinks. Does your wife know what's going on here?
She knows I go to work.
You're wasting your time, and it's sad. You might as well put the dishes in the shower.
Hey, Catherine, what's cooking? We're putting a man on the moon. Are you out of your mind? I can't even get tuna without celery. Nobody's gone to the moon, ever.
Why not?
It's too far. It's far. It's really far. It's far.
我々の未来はポータブルミュージックです。
バカか、バカか。わかるだろう。わかるだろう。わかるだろう。出て行け！見ないのか。怖いんだ。バッタリがいつも言えるぞ。バッタリどこ？バッタリ。
Like I was saying, it's FTX. It's a safe and easy way to get into crypto.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I'm never wrong about this stuff. Never.
All right, well, welcome. We thought we'd start it off with a video to kind of set the tone for the conversation we're about to have. So my name is Lindsay Grace. I'm Knight Chair in Interactive Media at the University of Miami, a 2019 Vanguard awardee for Games for Change, and Vice President for Higher Education Video Game Alliance. And we have here David Ryan Polgar, who's a pioneering tech ethicist, responsible tech advocate, and expert on ways to improve social media and our information ecosystem, along with increasing the ethical considerations regarding emerging technologies. He specializes in uniting a diverse range of stakeholders in order to tackle complex tech and social society issues, cultivating conducive environments for forward progress. Thank you so much for being here, David.
Well, thank you for being here. And if you're wondering why we had the Larry David video, sometimes you actually need to be a Larry because that was connected with the SBF, the crypto kind of swindle going on right now. And I think that's a lot of our discussion.
Yeah. So we'll actually just get started right now with sort of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats from your perspective on the sort of world of generative AI and games.
Everybody's talking about generative AI. It's going to change the world. I think the big thing that we need to know about is that it's going to be a wealth generator. But the issue for so many people in here right now, if you're creating something, we've seen right now with Sarah Silverman getting involved in a lawsuit saying that her material is being utilized by ChatGPT, and that's why they're going after OpenAI. And then you see right now all these authors getting involved too to say, our source material is being utilized. So I think the big thing with generative AI is that it's creating, and it will continue to create, a tremendous amount of wealth. But the actual crux of the situation is how is that wealth being distributed? Because if the source material is your neighbor who is a creator, right? How do we always incentivize future creativity? I think sometimes you have this division in life where a lot of people think that technology comes from nowhere. Well, I run an organization based here in New York called All Tech is Human. So I think all technology derives from our human agency and our human creativity. So I think we really need to incentivize through our legal structures, through our regulation with companies, through even right now with the labor dispute that's going on with the writers and the actors. Everybody is concerned that creativity is going to be pushed aside, right? So with generative AI or even just the web at large, it should always be, and here I was like in the formative years, seeing the rise of the web, right? It should always be a springboard for additional creativity. And I think the concern with ChatGPT and generative AI is that if we don't play our cards right, it could be a meat grinder. And what I mean by that is that our creativity, our words, our images, our artwork could be just ground up and then spit out by a system, and that technologist can divorce themselves from the source material and think, wow, this just came up with it out of nowhere. Well, guess what? It doesn't have a mind of its own. It's not a person. It's always going to be derivative in nature. And I know that's always the dispute with any type of neural types of technologies, but it's still based on our genius, right? Technology is still something that we create. We create the guardrails around it. It's our future, and we determine it.
That might be a great stepping off point for just discussing a little bit about the interchange between society and generative AI.
Yeah. When you think about that, society always has a role to play. So much of my role with All Tech is Human is trying to serve as a connective tissue between civil society, government, industry, and academia. And what a lot of the general public is upset about is they really feel that technology is affecting how they live, love, learn, even die. It's altering the human condition, and as we well know, it's intertwined with the future of democracy. So that's a big deal. That's really just showing the awesome nature of technology. But what the public is frustrated by is they feel like their trajectory in life is being impacted, but they have no ability to impact how it's designed, developed, and deployed. You shouldn't have a small sliver of society develop technologies that are impacting a wide range of people. That's why I like to say no application without representation, not about us without us. If technology like generative AI is impacting how you get your news, how you have your livelihood, how you form your reality, then it stands to reason that we, the people, have that right and have that obligation as a civic duty to get involved in the process. And that's what we're trying to do.
I have a question for sort of the developer community, right?
Sure.
So we've got a bunch of game makers here. How do you actually maintain a moral compass at the speed of generative AI development?
Yes, yeah. This is where we need to move away from hyper-individualism. I think one of the flaws, I would argue, of the Silicon Valley ethos is not only we know, like the early Facebook, move fast and break things that we've moved away from. However, I think the other problem is that we try to treat individuals as the alpha and the omega, right? The be all and the end all. We say, what should Mark Zuckerberg do? What should Elon Musk do with Twitter? Whereas the developer is one spoke in the wheel. If technology is intersecting with our social structure and social systems, it also stands to reason that we need a wide variety, a diverse range of participants who are involved in the process. So a developer is part of the process. Obviously, we want them to have that ethical compass and that moral obligation that you don't want to do harm to society, that all technology should be beneficial and try to align it with the public interest. However, I don't think it's beneficial to just say this one person is in charge of every aspect. You create a system where there's a lot of interrogation in the process that multiple people come in to say, you know what, Lindsay, you forgot about X, Y, and Z, because we all have different experiences. We have different lived experiences. I'm a person who lives in Manhattan. That's going to give me a specialty in one respect, but a limitation. As one person, I have blind spots. The idea is to illuminate change and illuminate the problems that we have by giving people proverbial flashlights where they say, have you thought about this? That's what we need. We don't always just need problem solvers in life. We actually need problem finders, because you cannot solve a problem if you cannot see the problem. And I think that's the inherent flaw sometimes for a strict technologist who doesn't know what they don't know, and a lot of people from the outside saying, this technology is important, so let's get it right because it affects us.
So as an educator, the next question is, I think, going to resonate with a lot of people, which I think you're hinting at, which is, what would you recommend or suggest or hope for the future that educators would do in this domain to maybe help make a brighter future?
Definitely. Education has a strong role to play. A lot of people like to use the unsafe at any speed, Ralph Nader, what happened in the 60s with seatbelts. This is our seatbelt moment with technology. But what we also know from driving is that when you learn to drive, right, you have the education aspect, you get your license, but then you have the kind of interplay between government, business, and you as an individual and your human agency and your education. So educators, this is where we need to promote some level of digital literacy, media literacy, digital citizenship. A little harder in the United States because we're a lot more divided in terms of how curricula goes throughout a system.
Yep. And then it also sounds like you were also emphasizing the idea that we would take, say, these flashlights, and part of what we do as critical educators encourage people to shine their own flashlight on some of this technology.
Definitely.
Maybe analyzing games or doing things.
Exactly, exactly. And I think that's why Games for Change has always resonated with me. I've had the privilege of being involved earlier with Games for Change Awards. And what I love about Games for Change is that it recognizes that games are important, that games are not solely about the entertainment, but also like an infotainment, also the ability to affect empathy, as like a lot of great individuals about how their use of XR and how that could inform and enlighten different individuals and give them experiences that they would not have otherwise have had. And I think that's the kind of key part, is to recognize the significance of technology, but also counter that with our obligation as individuals, as educators, to get it right, to be part of the process, to get engaged.
So we showed this video that kind of has sort of two levels of novelty here, right? One, that we've got a sort of a swindle being sold to us with this concept, but also we've got this opportunity to discuss our reservations and opportunities in a combination of hype cycles.
Definitely.
So could you maybe share some of your thoughts on generative AI, maybe particularly within games in this context?
Sure.
Where are we in the hype cycle, or?
Where are we in the hype cycle? Generative AI obviously is landing. It's landing tremendously different than the earlier hype cycle, because I'd like everyone, raise your hand if you're on the metaverse or in the metaverse. See, not a lot of people. And this is Games for Change. This is a crowd that you would think.
Right.
So if you had followed what the hype cycle was telling us, then that's a totally different view. And that's why we played this Larry David video. And Larry David is actually getting sued over this because that's connected with the crypto kind of crash. So the situation is that technology, in my opinion, does not naturally unravel. And what a lot of hype cycles like to do is they say, it doesn't matter whether you like this or not, this is the future. So you can either get ready, or you can become outdated and old and an idiot, like is portrayed. But actually, in that scenario, you should have been skeptical. So if you followed that pressure, you would have lost a lot of money. So with generative AI, it's certainly something where universities are struggling with it, how it's used in the classroom, but it's certainly landing with an audience because of its adoption. I think that's also because something that I have as my kind of North Star is that people, and this is also why the metaverse, and I'm not going to bet on it, because we're all human, right? I'm not a transhumanist. We're all human, so we actually have very base emotions. And this is why social media has been extremely successful, and this is why nobody's been able to get us away from the smartphone, because we want love, we want connection, we want sex, we want entertainment and information. Outside of that, right, everything is kind of icing, right? So if it appeals to that base emotion, which generative AI does, then it usually becomes adopted and successful. Whereas if you compare that to the metaverse, well, we have a loneliness epidemic. Do you think people are going to want to put a headset on if they need to look at people and have more friendships? It's not going to work, and it did not work. Whereas generative AI gives us information, it gives us creativity, it gives us entertainment, right? So it goes to our base emotions, it resonates with us on a deeper level. As much as we think that the future is changing humanity, it changes our systems, but we as humans are still human. We
Great.
have to remember that.
And on the human side, as we kind of wrap, if you could just sort of give us your thoughts on the value of multiple perspectives and disciplines, responsibilities, et cetera, that would be really great.
Well, I think that's the big thing. As much as I enjoy being on stage here and meeting people and traveling around the globe and stuff like that, love it. But I also recognize that I'm one spoke in the wheel, that I'm one person, that as much as I read, I cannot be a specialist in all different areas. And I also have my limitations with my growing up and where I live. And that gives me one part of the puzzle. But if we're going to get this right, it's a tapestry of so many different perspectives, so many different disciplines who come together, who recognize that this is collective understanding. We need a hub of knowledge. We need the ability to be involved in the process. And that's the work that we're trying to do at All Tech is Human. And that's where we love to have more and more people involved.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you.